1 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the UW System Board of Regents on the lovely campus of University of Wisconsin-Platteville. Megan, please call the roll.
Regent Adams, Regent Atwell, Regent Bogus. Here. Regent Brankus, Regent Cologne.
Here.
Regent Goydam.
Here.
Regent Jones, Regent Cruiser.
Present.
Regent Manydeeds.
Here.
Regent Peterson.
Here.
Regent Prince.
Present.
Regent Rye.
Here.
Regent Trainer. Regent Tyler.
Here.
Regent Underly.
Here.
Regent Walsh.
Here.
Regent Weatherly.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. As we consider the items on today's agenda, are there any board members who wish to declare conflicts of interest regarding today's open session agenda? All right. Seeing none, let's proceed. We're going to have approval of the meeting records first. The records of the February 8 and 9, 2024 regular meeting and March 12, 2024 special meeting of the UW System Board of Regents have been approved. Are there any corrections? And I see none. The minutes are approved as distributed. And a report from the Wisconsin Technical College System Board has been provided. Are there comments or questions about anything in these minutes? We have a couple experts at the table if you do. All right, seeing none, we will move on. I want to thank especially Chancellor Ravetovich and her team for their warm hospitality hosting this meeting. So to set the stage for the meeting, I'd like to share a brief video of first-generation students here at UW-Platteville, as it's students like these that help serve as an inspiration for the work that we and our universities do every day.
My name is Karla Sanchez. I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. I'm a senior here at UW-Platteville, majoring in industrial studies with an emphasis in manufacturing. My motivation for attending college, I would say, stems from being a first-generation college student. I think just trying to give back to my parents for all their sacrifices. My parents are from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. They came here in '98, and then my sisters and I were born here. In our early years, it was difficult just because our first language was Spanish, so that was all spoken in the house. I didn't know English until like first, second grade, so school was really difficult. Growing up in my household, college was really never a topic of conversation. So I kind of grew up with a mentality that it wasn't a possibility for me. But I've always liked school. I've always been that math and science girl. That's especially in high school. That's really what pushed me to become an engineer and want to pursue that. So my dad and I, we toured UW-Platteville my senior year of high school. He really saw it as a place where I could really get a good career and get a good education and really just focus. That's when I knew I wanted to come here. I love the small campus. I love the Platteville community. It was really kind of just heartwarming. It's really, the people here are amazing. The campus itself was just like a perfect fit for me. I got my internship from the career fair my sophomore year with Modine Manufacturing. Did a test engineering position there, and I've been going back to that company ever since I started. So lucky enough, they offered me a full-time position. I think my internship helped me just kind of prepare myself to a full-time position post-graduation. I think it's going to help me just with social skills, networking skills, and all the skills that I've been learning here, kind of to apply them in real-world situations. Platteville in general changed my life. I feel like I am not the person I am today if I weren't a student here. I feel like being a student here has really shaped the person I am today.
Wow, what a great story. To start us off today, I want to recognize the two newest members of this board recently appointed by Governor Evers, Haben Goydam and Amy Trainer. Haben is a business professional and attorney with more than 15 years of experience developing innovative solutions and directing legal strategies for companies. Amy has more than 2 decades of experience in public education and is currently the Director of Learning Services at CISA 10 in Chippewa Falls. We will offer more complete introductions when they join us in person at the next meeting. In the meantime, welcome to you both. We all look forward to working with you. I'd like to note that this is the final meeting for our Regent colleague, Bob Atwell, whose term on the board is drawing to a close. And also I'd like to recognize Regent Mike Jones, who is also departing the board and is not with us today. We will recognize Regent Atwell and Regent Jones and any other departing regents at a future meeting. At this time, let me take the opportunity to personally thank you, Bob, for your service and your friendship. It's truly been a pleasure, and I know who to contact if I want a good Serbian restaurant in Milwaukee. We also acknowledge and thank 2 former colleagues who are no longer on this board, Regent John Miller and Regent Dana Walks. Let me just say that it's regrettable the way that this happened. I think I speak on behalf of all of us that we appreciated your commitment to the universities of Wisconsin, all your hard work, and your commitment to student success. You are greatly missed. We will more formally recognize their service at a future date as well. For an update on searches, you will have seen our announcement several weeks ago that we have approved a new leader for UW-La Crosse, naming Dr. James Beebe as that university's 11th chancellor. Dr. Beebe, who comes to us from Keene State College in New Hampshire, will take the helm on July 1st, and we'll introduce him to the board more fully once he's in place. In the meantime, again, we offer thanks and appreciation to Dr. Betsy Morgan for serving as interim chancellor. Dr. Morgan stepped up at a challenging time, and the entire campus community and this board are indebted to her. As most of you no doubt know, Betsy is an extraordinary asset for UW-La Crosse and its community, and I consider her leadership there to be remarkable. President Rothman, I believe you have several introductions.
I do. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce the new interim provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs at UW River Falls, Wes Chapin. A Falcon alumnus, Wes has a long history at River Falls. Since 2013, he has worked as associate vice chancellor for academic affairs and graduate studies. Prior to that, he was a faculty member in political science and international studies before becoming an administrator in various different roles at River Falls. Welcome, Wes. We look forward to working with you, and I'd ask you to please stand and be recognized. We also offer our congratulations to outgoing UW River Falls Provost David Travis, who was recently named the next president of Lake Superior State University. David will start in his new role this summer, and we thank him for all of his many contributions to UWRF, and we certainly wish him the best. In other news, very locally, UW-Platteville recently announced that Laura Reynolds will be joining the Pioneer community as the new provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs. Laura is currently provost at Missouri Western State University. She officially begins on May 15th, so we'll offer a fuller introduction at our next meeting. And with that, back to you, President Walsh.
Thank you. Before I begin my report, I'd actually like to invite Regent Vice President Bogus to share one more brief update with the board about her recent experience attending, along with Regent Jim Cruiser, this year's National Conference on Trusteeship organized by the Association of Governing Boards of Universities and Colleges. Regent Bogus.
Thank you very much, President Walsh. As you said, Regent Cruiser and I both attended in Boston, I think it was a week ago, where it rained the entire time. But it was an excellent conference, and I think around 1,200 chancellors, presidents, board members attended, and UW-Madison Provost Charles Isbell Jr. served on a plenary panel discerning the role of tech game changers for higher education, discussing the effect AI is having on the operations of colleges and universities, and how university leaders can position institutions advantageously in emerging technological environments. And I have to say, it was an amazing, I mean, I'm a little biased, but I do think he was the best one on the panel. And I think I understood most of what he said, which just shows you how amazing it was. Kevin Riley, President Emeritus of the UW system and now a senior fellow at AGB, also served on multiple panels. And next year's conference is going to be held in Chicago on April 1st and 2nd. And so I encourage lots of people to attend since you can just drive there. So very helpful.
Thank you very much. Turning back to my report, it was a year ago that we announced a new initiative, the Regent Business Partnership Awards, and they were created to recognize the innovative collaborations that are happening between our universities and the businesses in their communities. So over the past year, we've publicly recognized and highlighted some of the active collaborations between each of our universities and one of their valued business partners. Last month, we presented awards to UW Stout and Phillips Medisize. Founded 60 years ago in Phillips, Wisconsin, Phillips Medisize is a global leader in the design, engineering, and manufacturing of pharmaceutical drug delivery, in vitro diagnostic and medtech devices, as well as products for the consumer, automotive, and defense industries. The company has partnered with UW Stout across many disciplines in many ways, collaborating with faculty on curriculum development, to being a member of our Career Services Partnership Program. Over the last decade, Phillips Medisize has hired 66 students as interns, and over the past 20 years has hired more than 120 Stout students in full-time professional roles. And I can tell you from attending the career fairs at Stout, it's tough to get a yes because you have a lot of competition. So clearly this was a win-win partnership, and congratulations both to UW Stout and Phillips Medisize. Now, in sporting news, I'd like to offer congratulations of a different sort, and that is to the UW River Falls women's ice hockey team. They recently closed out their 25th anniversary season with their first ever Division III national championship. The Falcons claimed the title with a 4-1 victory over New York's Elmira College and finished, by the way, with a 31-0 overall record. Wow, the most single season wins in NCAA Division III women's hockey history. Way to go, River Falls. Congratulations. I'd also like to congratulate the Badger women's hockey team for making a great run this year, coming oh so close to defending their national title, but losing 1-0 to close rival Ohio State in the NCAA championship final. And we'll be back for them next year. No worries about that. Meanwhile, with a Division III record score, the UW-Oshkosh women's gymnastics team claimed the National Collegiate Gymnastics Competition for the 3rd straight year. The UW's actually made a clean sweep at the event, with UW-Whitewater and UW-La Crosse taking 2nd and 3rd place. Wow, congratulations all. And turning to indoor track and field to close out the sporting report, the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, that's WIAC, completely ruled the day at the Men's Division III National Championships. UW-La Crosse claimed its 2nd straight national title and its 20th in program history for the Eagles. Further, UW-Eau Claire, UW-Oshkosh, and UW-Whitewater rounded out the top 4 spots, taking 2nd, 3rd, and 4th respectively. Again, great work for these student athletes. Nice. Finally, by the time we meet at UW-Milwaukee in June, each of our universities will have celebrated one of their best and most anticipated events, and that's commencement. So in the coming weeks, about 23,000 students will be presented with their University of Wisconsin diplomas. It's a very special time, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to offer congratulations. A degree from the Universities of Wisconsin is so much more than a piece of paper. It's a recognition of tremendous dedication, hard work, And our graduates and their families should be so very proud. I know we are. Congratulations, class of 2024. And that concludes my report. Over to you, President Rothman.
Thank you. Let me also add my early congratulations to our new graduates as they move on to their next career step. We know they are poised to do great things and have both exciting and bright futures ahead of them. Now, I'm delighted to share the news that the universities of Wisconsin have just launched a brand new, more student-focused website, wisconsin.edu. Just want to show this video, which gives you a sneak preview of the new website.
As part of the Universities of Wisconsin Advocacy and Awareness Campaign, which you will be seeing and hearing about more in the coming weeks and months, our central website, wisconsin.edu, now has a brand new look and feel. The new wisconsin.edu is being designed to be much more student-focused. Several of our previous websites are now being streamlined into one comprehensive site. The former extended campus, now Wisconsin Online, has brought together all the fully online programs across the 13 universities of Wisconsin to one online location. The student-focused content from our UW Help site will now be integrated into our wisconsin.edu homepage, complete with a new front door that will allow direct access to the programs and offerings at our 13 universities. The new website is the cornerstone of the Advocacy and Awareness Campaign, which is designed to complement and amplify the enrollment and marketing campaigns at each of our 13 universities. In effect, our mission is to drive more traffic to the universities. And while all the administrative aspects that were featured on the old wisconsin.edu are not going away, our new look showcases what makes the universities of Wisconsin special and will help potential students learn more about our universities and the unlimited opportunity that awaits them here. The new wisconsin.edu. Check it out.
And I encourage you to all check it out. I think it's interesting. It is intended to drive more traffic to each of our 13 universities and their websites. And I'm excited that we're focused on the academic journey and how you apply and how you learn more about our schools and less on the administration side. So I think this is a really great development. There's more work to come with this. It is going to be continually refined. But I wanted to thank the people who have devoted so much time over the last year to put all of this together. And I sincerely thank them for that work. You know, as mentioned in the video, the revamped and reimaged wisconsin.edu will be a cornerstone of our wider ranging but still focused enrollment initiatives. Visitors on the site can learn more about the diverse offerings and the value all of our UWs offer, and then how to get further information at individual university sites. In other words, the new wisconsin.edu is more about students. It's student focused, and that's an intent. And I again encourage you to take a look at it. This is one piece of our ongoing advocacy and awareness campaign, which you'll be seeing and hearing more about in the coming weeks and months, that highlight the universities of Wisconsin, each with their unique and diverse programs and opportunities, but also united by some shared values of excellence and service. We think that this is brand equity that we can and should be building in the state. Taken together, the website and the overall branding campaign are guided by our strategic plan and efforts to increase public awareness and understanding of the value higher education in general, and more specifically, the impact and the value that higher education that offers at the universities of Wisconsin. We are home to unlimited opportunities at our 13 universities for tens of thousands of students. And an investment in these opportunities by parents, by students, by the legislature, and by all Wisconsinites helps build vibrant communities throughout our great state. There's so much more to come, so I encourage you to stay tuned. And while we're talking about the topic of enrollment, I'd like to point out a few other areas of activity that we've been working on. In the Education Committee this morning, we heard a brief overview from the Dual Enrollment Task Force, which was charged with coming up with recommendations as to how we can advance dual enrollment and thereby expand access to higher education, how we can increase participation rates among Wisconsin students, particularly those coming from underrepresented groups, and how we can increase the number of students who take a UW dual enrollment course and subsequently matriculate at one of our universities. The task force final report will be presented at a later meeting, and we are going to start the work to implement the recommendations of that task force. On the enrollment side again, last month we announced the Wisconsin Guarantee, which automatically admits the state's top performing students to our 13 public universities in accordance with an act passed by the legislature and signed into law by Governor Evers. Under the Wisconsin Guarantee, students who rank in the top 5% of their class at the end of their 11th grade will be eligible for automatic admission to UW-Madison, while students who rank in the top 10% of their class at the end of their 11th grade or their junior year will be eligible for automatic admission to the other 12 great universities in our state. This guarantee will help keep our best and brightest high school graduates here in Wisconsin. It is another tool that we're using to help our state win the war for talent. In addition, on the enrollment front, as we've previously reported, our direct admissions program starts this summer. Under this program, eligible students will be automatically admitted to up to 10 of our universities who are participating in this program based on their high school GPA. All of these initiatives are consistent with what we're trying to do in our strategic plan and fulfilling the strategic plan goals of increasing enrollment and the participation rate in Wisconsin. So we are positioned to graduate the workforce needed by our state and to support our societies. On the student success front, another primary focus of our plan is our commitment to student success. And I have a couple of items I'd like to note. First, Monica Smith, our Associate Vice President for Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, is leading a student success retention plan that will use data to identify the root causes of retention and graduation gaps for historically underserved students. Just as a side note, those gaps, although they were closing before the pandemic, are now as wide as they were 10 years ago. So we have work to do. The intent is to use the data to determine whether there are themes that you can attribute to why people are not being retained and graduating, to determine points and targets of intervention about how we can help the retention and graduation rate gap and close that gap, and finally to work with our universities as they develop specific action plans for their students. We're continuing to focus attention on the mental health and well-being of our students as well in our university communities. In the Education Committee again this morning, we heard an overview of the first 5 years of our Student Behavioral Health Initiative. It is clear that universities need sustainable investment in foundational campus services that students are increasingly relying on. Looking forward, a specific area we must consider is that without alternative financing, the supplemental telehealth services that have provided students with additional support since spring of 2023 will end when the one-time ARPA funds that Governor Evers allocated to our universities are expended, and that will occur at the end of the 24-25 academic year. We need to address that funding gap in the near future, and we will be advocating for additional funding to support those telehealth services. Further supporting students, I'm pleased to announce a new partnership that will connect a vital service and support for students at the universities of Wisconsin. In December 2023, the UW signed an MOU with Lawyers for Learners to bring free legal help and service to students at all 13 of our universities. Lawyers for Learners, which is currently working with 15 Wisconsin post-secondary schools in addition to the universities of Wisconsin, is supported by Ascendium Education Group, which is based in Madison, and a network of Wisconsin legal aid organizations. Legal issues can impede our students' ability to attend or succeed at school or even obtain employment post-graduation. Offering this resource to our students has the potential to impact positively student success, retention, and completion. I'd like to thank our colleagues at Lawyers for Learners, Ascendium, and the network of legal aid providers for not only their collaboration, but also their concern and support for our students. I'd also like to address the recent announcement regarding the closure of UW-Milwaukee at Waukesha. It is widely recognized that universities, both here in Wisconsin and across the nation, are facing financial, funding, and demographic challenges, which is impacting enrollment. As you know, months ago, I asked our chancellors who have responsibility for our former branch campuses to review those operations in light of the best interests of their communities and the status of student demand at those campuses. Closing the UW-Milwaukee at Waukesha campus is not something we want to do, but rather is something we are forced to do. In the long run, the changes we are making, including working with Waukesha County Technical College to maintain access for students, those actions are intended to ensure future students continue to have high-quality education opportunities in Wisconsin, while also ensuring the long-term success for UW-Milwaukee. I commend these efforts on behalf of Chancellor Money and his team. A new university center, which will be created at the Technical College, is much better long-term practical option for us to serve students while ensuring that we maintain and fulfill our fiduciary responsibilities to use tuition and taxpayer dollars wisely. At the same time, this operational alignment will require changes that affect the faculty and staff who have dedicated their professional lives to further education here in Wisconsin. Those are difficult decisions. Our top priorities, we undertake those operational changes at Waukesha will be to transition faculty and staff to the best of our ability. And I know the Chancellor Money is absolutely dedicated to that. And to the extent those actions result in layoffs, we will follow certainly the processes prescribed by the board. Another priority identified in the strategic plan is to ensure that the universities of Wisconsin remain competitive with our peers, and that includes with respect to compensation. Last year, a 4% plus 2% pay plan was approved for our faculty and staff by the state legislature. During our meetings here in Platteville, we will seek approval, which is required by board policy, of pay plan adjustments for our chancellors. A continual review is needed to ensure we remain competitive with market compensation to allow us to attract and retain great leaders. This is especially vital during challenging times in higher education, and we cannot afford to risk a turn in leadership that would ultimately negatively affect our universities and our mission to our students. I am considering options to address these concerns, which I intend to bring to this board at a subsequent meeting. Another area where we are taking action is offering paid parental leave for all UW employees. The benefits are real for working families at our universities, and being able to provide this benefit will improve our recruitment success as well as our retention. As discussed this morning in the Business and Finance Committee, the Universities of Wisconsin and UW-Madison have drafted policies under their respective personnel systems to implement 6 weeks of paid parental leave within a 12-month period for the birth or adoption of a child. Again, this is a positive step to ensure the UWs remain competitive, because those benefits are offered widely not only in the private sector, but also with other competitive universities, because retaining talent is critical, and it is much better to retain the talent, the great talent we have, than to be out in the market searching for new talent. And then turning briefly to a legislative update, the state's legislative session recently concluded, and we are already well into planning our efforts to engage with legislative candidates this summer and fall. We are also developing our next biennial budget request, seeking input from various stakeholders, including the governor, legislators, and other key stakeholders. We will bring that biennial budget recommendation to this board in August. And with that, concludes my report, and back to you, President Walsh.
Thank you, President Rossman. Now it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to our host, Chancellor Tammy Ivetovich.
I'm getting some help as well.
Well, that it's an ambush.
Don't worry, this is planned.
Stand up.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm excited to have the opportunity to share with you all some things about this great university we call the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. And I want you to know that we are currently in a strategic planning process, and we're developing our 2031 strategic plan for this university. And one of the things I enjoy most about this process is it gives us the opportunity to delve into who we are. It helps us hone our identity and helps us prioritize. We do not fit neatly into any category. We are not the flagship. We are not an R1. We are not a technical college. Instead, we occupy a unique space somewhere in the middle. We are a teaching-focused, broad access institution that places value on student support, strong, very strong career outcomes, and a solid foundation in the liberal arts. Defining our identity as a regional comprehensive university can sometimes be challenging because we mean different things to different people. And I think you're going to see that when you hear the story of these people behind me. We adapt to our students' needs. We meet them where they are. We pride ourselves on helping students find their place. So today's presentation is all about students. When we started discussing what we wanted to present to you all today, we're very excited to have you here. And what I said to my team was, they don't want to hear me talk for 60 minutes. I want them to hear directly from our students. So I've got 4 of our students behind us and a few more people that are great advocates for us. I have invited them to share their unique and personal experiences with you. So we're going to take you on a journey from enrollment to graduation and the start of their career. Each student's journey will vary, but they are all anchored by underlying core values and practices that we prioritize as an institution. And I think you'll see that we support our students in varied ways that meet their needs. The journey through higher education begins with access. For many students, UW-Platteville represents an opportunity they may not find elsewhere. It's that place that can profoundly impact their lives and those of their family and future generations. More than 35% of our students are first generation. As an access institution, it is incumbent upon us to break down traditional barriers to enrollment. And over 67% of new freshmen on our main campus received an institutional or foundation scholarship. And we know that helps with retention, and it also helps with completion. We must acknowledge and address unique challenges students face and help them envision themselves as part of our UW-Platteville community. So it is my honor to introduce our first student speaker, Abigail Spildy. Yes, you can step up here. I invite you to check out her boots, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Abigail is one of the recipients of our Capstan Scholarship. This is a comprehensive scholarship that includes tuition and room and board, offering students the honor of graduating debt-free. I extend my deepest gratitude to Todd and Susan Johnson for creating this scholarship program. It allows us to live our access mission and welcome wonderful students like Abigail. So please help me welcome Abigail Spildy.
Good afternoon, everybody. How we doing? Good. We get here safe. The weather's terrible, so I'm sorry for that. But anyways, my name is Abigail Spildy, and I am honored to be standing here in front of you all today to share the story of me and how I came to the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I grew up in the rural area of Cottage Grove as an only child and blessed with unconditional love by my family. In my elementary years at school, my teachers were concerned about my reading level and math skills, but were uncertain what learning disabilities I had after extensive testing. The decision was made by my school advisors that I was going to be taken out of science and social studies and only focus on math and reading. From the start of 3rd grade up to the end of middle school, a special ed aide would knock on the door, disrupt the teacher, and the room would go abruptly silent. Abigail Spildy, would you come with me, please? Everyone would turn their heads and stare at me like I was a disease. I walked out of the classroom with my head down. My first time taking an actual science course was the 6th grade. I will never forget my teacher's expression when I told him this was my first STEM class. Little did my fellow students who looked down on me for all those years know I would eventually be graduating the top 20% of my graduating class on the high honor roll and headed to the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. A few years ago, I went to a doctor at UW-Madison and was officially tested and diagnosed with dyslexia and a math learning disorder after all. For my early years in high school, I thought I'd never attend college. I felt as though I couldn't read, write, or do math well enough, and I believed college people were smart and ready for the world, and I didn't believe I was yet. My sophomore year of high school, age 15, I got a job at Stoughton, in my hometown at Stoughton, working at Stoughton Lumber, and I was working 20+ hours a week while attending school online due to COVID. I finally saw something going right, and maybe, just maybe, if I focus even harder, I could excel in school, and with this job, I could save for college. In my summer of my senior year of high school, I was accepted into the Dane County Youth Apprenticeship Program and was able to work in the morning and then go to school at 10 a.m. I worked for a commercial company out of Madison, and they introduced me to the commercial side of construction. At this point, with my extra work in school, I was getting straight A's and brought my once 2.8 GPA to a 3.5, and I was going to graduate. Fall of my senior year, I spent my time looking at Platteville's website and found my dream courses in the perfect location. Luckily, I'm able to major in construction management, emphasizing in safety, with 2 minors in architecture and business. While I was on a tour of this campus, I had the pleasure of meeting my inspiration, Gretchen Bockenhauer, who was the construction program coordinator at this campus. She was one of the first people I met when I stepped on this campus, and she made me feel welcome and showed me all the possible career paths in construction and how successful I could be at Platteville and in the industry. When I decided to come to UW-Platteville in the fall, she not only inspired me to graduate with my Bachelor's of Science, but also pursue my Master's in Project Management. I am proud to work along with her as her assistant since my fall of freshman year. I plan to go out in the field and learn all about what happens in the real world and come back and teach new generations of students, just like I did, and she did. After my acceptance into Platteville, I was on a Zoom call with the foundation representatives who said one sentence that changed my life. You have been accepted as one of your first in your class to receive the Capstone Scholarship here at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. I then threw my hands in my face and began to cry. I am beyond grateful for the scholarship and the impact it has made on me, my family, and my life. Being given this opportunity, I feel I can step up and prove to the world and the educators from my past that I can do this at a higher education level, and I will succeed. My dreams from childhood will soon be a reality. What makes the construction program here so robust is the courses and the instructors. The capstone class is a senior level class that lets students erect and take down a functional construction project and a road and infrastructure lab, creating vital experience for my future career and opportunities. We're the one school in the nation that has this live job site on campus. We also have a lab and lecture room dedicated to learning safety and fall protection and fire and personal protective equipment, displayed and so much more. Each of our instructors are one of a kind in every way, but they all have one thing in common. They all come from industry with real world experience, here to share their knowledge with us and future generations of students who are eager to learn just like me. I will inspire students who may not have been blessed with easy reading and math skills and also facing financial challenges. I will support them the best I can, just as Todd and Susan Johnson, the creators of the Capstone Scholarship, Gretchen Bockenhauer, and thankfully my tutors. And I can say for a fact my future would look very different without you. So thank you.
Switching up here. Thank you, Abigail, for sharing your story. So continuing on our journey, once students join our UW-Platteville community, it is critical that we prioritize support for them. This is one of the key themes we heard from our students in our strategic planning survey, and we were astounded to know that we had over 700 students participate in our survey. Support will look different for each student, so it is important to approach it holistically. And for some students, that means academic support like tutoring. For others, this means financial support like our emergency grant program or a student-run food pantry. For others, it means mental health and emotional support like counseling. But a large part of support also means creating intentional opportunities for students to boost their engagement and collaboration with peers and our wonderful faculty that we have on our campuses. This is something we do extremely well at UW-Platteville, and it would not be possible without the tireless work of our faculty and staff who create these opportunities. They work side by side, conducting research in a lab or field. They create with them in the Huff Family Innovation Center. They introduce them into our communities with service learning projects. I could go on and on and on about the examples that we have here. Our faculty and staff are so committed to student success. And that is something you cannot force. It is just the culture that we have on our campus. We have some magic ingredients somehow, some way. 92% of our students have participated in at least one high-impact practice by the time they graduate. And when they engage in these opportunities, they are finding community, they are gaining confidence, and they are building trust in a faculty mentor. All this goes a long way in supporting them on their road to graduation, and it makes them more likely to persist from year to year. I am very proud of our retention rate. It's at over 80%, and it's not only the fourth highest among the universities of Wisconsin, but I think it's remarkably high for a STEM-focused university. So now let me introduce you to our next speaker, who has fully embraced opportunities for engagement and community at UW-Platteville. Please welcome Molly Johnson.
Hello. So my path to where I am today has been considerably windy and hilly and jumps all around. But one thing that was consistent was the support from this campus. So for the next 5 minutes, I invite you to take the journey of my 5 years here on campus. Freshman year, I am excited. I got my letter in the mail. I'm going to Platteville. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. And I've declared myself as a mechanical engineering degree. Now, I also have been reached out to by the Women in STEM program here on campus. Here, they tell me that I can join the LLC, which is a living learning community on campus. In the dorms, it's about 2 wings at this period of time where there's just a bunch of women who are living in this one space, and we are all sharing the goal of being in STEM and wanting to graduate and have an amazing time on campus. This opportunity was very important to me because it built community before I even got on campus. This is the first time I'm stepping out into my own space. I'm not with my parents and they're not telling me, hey, make sure you get your homework done, eat properly. Like, I'm on my own. It's great. But this LLC was a space where I instantly had connection. They did cohort classes, so I had at least one other student in my wing who was going to be in a engineering class with me at all times. It was amazing. And I also, at this as a freshman, was part of the mentor program. The mentor program took upper level junior and seniors and paired them with 2 or 3 freshmen, sophomores, or even transfer students. It was an immediate connection to show me around campus and just kind of be like, I'm here for you as a student and as a friend, and I'm not that scary professor that's up there talking to you and lecturing. This upperclassman would be there to help me look at my calendar and be like, put your appointments in your calendar so you don't forget to show up for these things. Or they'd be there to be like, hey, let's do a board game night and let's, just get rid of the stress of finals for 2 hours and then we could go back to studying. And they also encouraged me to go to office hours when I was struggling with my academics. Now we roll into sophomore year and I'm realizing mechanical engineering just isn't sitting right. It's interesting, but I just don't have passion for it. It feels more like work than love. And I'm taking a psychology course at the same time, and I realize that is really where I want to be. But that's a huge transition. Psychology is in the LEE department, and engineering is in the EMS department. This is a really big jump. It's one of those jumps in my journey. At the same time, I am in YSTEM. I am talking to professors and figuring out what should I do. Eventually, I do decide I'm going to make this change. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified, but I wasn't doing it alone. I was never alone this entire process. So I make this change and I realize this is correct. I am so happy with where I am and what I did with that. Now, through a process of talking to professors, I ended up meeting Dr. Kimiko Halfman. She is a part of the psychology department and she runs the PEDAL laboratory. PEDAL stands for Platteville Emotion and Decision-Making Lab. Here, I get to become her research assistant, and I am working on a project that she has already curated. Eventually, I get to the point where I get to develop a project of my own, and have done that for the past 2 years now, finally coming to a close with this research project. This space was very important to me because it was showing me the possibilities that there are with research in psychology. Because typically when you think of psychology, you think of therapist, social worker, being in a school system, helping children. But research is talked about, but not always easily accessible. Whereas having the research on campus with Dr. Halfman was a way for me to really experience what it feels like to do that. Now, through the process of working with Dr. Halfman across my senior year of college, this is my 4th year now, so summer 2023, I was accepted to the program here on campus called SUSP, Summer Undergraduate Scholars Program. Here, 10 students are selected based off of the proposals, and they get an allotment of money for their project to complete it, and they're also paid over summer to do this as a job, to do research and to really just focus on only that. It was so special to me because previously I've been doing academics, plus working a job to pay my rent, plus doing the research on campus. So it was really hard to really just focus on research. Whereas with the SUS program, I was able to solely focus on research and not have to worry about the outside influences. This was very important to me because I got to have connection amongst students my own age, and I still have friends from that program that I hang out with regularly. We all had different fields. There was someone in chemistry, there was someone in engineering, and I was in psychology. We even had a theater major there. But it was phenomenal just to see the connection that happened and that we all are in this together. So as I said, this entire process going from freshman to senior year has been winding and curving and hilly and whatever it may be, but I was never alone. And these programs really did help me feel like I could take the next step confidently and learn from my past experiences and where I want to be. So now that I am almost graduating, I am confident of to who I am, where I want to go, and I know that I can take on the ambiguity of life and with the tools that I've learned here and with the connections I've made and how I can do this inside the world outside of academia. Thank you.
Did she even look at her script? Okay, I'm just checking. I'm going to. Thank you, Molly. As students progress in their journey, when they feel supported and they have found their communities and mentors, they feel empowered to explore beyond their comfort zone. And that is when the magic happens. We know a college experience extends beyond just an academic major. It is about finding other passions and experiences that allow them to grow personally. These moments happen somewhere different for everyone. Maybe it is in a concert hall or on a theater stage, in the community, or thousands of miles away on a study abroad trip. Our students tell us time and again how they value our co-curricular opportunities. They feel supported in pursuing activities outside of their major. In fact, about 75% of students involved in performing in visual arts on our campus are non-majors. You probably just noticed that in the performance that was just given. At UW-Platteville, you can be an engineer and a musician, a business major traveling to Africa with Engineers Without Borders, and a criminal justice major with the lead role in a theater production. The possibilities go on and on. So let us hear from our next student, John Phelps, who is a political science major, a transfer student from our Baraboo-Sauk County campus, and Director of Legislative Affairs in our Student Senate. Please welcome John.
Good afternoon, members of the board, President Rothman, Regent President Walsh, of course, Chancellor Vedovich. My name is John Phelps. I'm an alumnus of the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Baraboo-Sauk County, or as we call it up there, BU. And I'm now a senior at UW-Platteville. I'm here today because I was asked to talk about the extracurricular activities and passions that I have outside of the school that have frankly kept me here. I got my associates from the Baraboo campus in December of 2022. And because Baraboo is a small campus and COVID, there was not a whole lot of club presence there. And it was then before the fall 2022 semester that the student activities coordinator approached me and said, "You're going to be student government president." How about that? President? I didn't even know SGA was a thing. I wasn't even in governance in high school. But it was just at that time that I was realizing politics was permeating a lot of my classes. Or maybe I was inserting politics into my classes, but anyways, I was still enjoying it. And I realized that that's what I wanted to do. So I took that opportunity, became student body president, and combining with my classes and the politics in it, and also the, sure everyone here is familiar with the 1894 Sifton Winnow quote. There's a replica of that in front of the Baraboo campus, and I'm not exaggerating. I would read that every single day before going to class. I have it memorized. So with that, the Sifton Winnow and my interest in politics and being student body president, it kind of aligned. It was a perfect opportunity. So with student government, we took a trip down to main campus here, Platteville, tour the school, and attend the Student Senate General Business meeting. And it was prior to the meeting, the informal discussion that I was able to have with the, at that time, Director of Legislative Affairs and Student Body President Rebecca Poe, when I was like, I decided this is where I want to go. This is what I'm looking for. So with my associates in hand, winter beginning, I transferred to an entirely new town, a new school, all in the middle of the academic year, with a lot of new things to learn, new people to meet. But where do I begin? My beginning was with a club. And what kept me grounded, gave me something to focus on outside of my academic time, and that helped me find meaning, was my involvement in the Student Senate. I got sworn in as a Student Senate senator on my second week on campus. So that opportunity had knocked again to join Senate, and I answered. Platteville, I've noticed that the Platteville and the people in the campus community will knock on students' door. I mean, I've even done it as a student myself. I've knocked on students' door, but you just got to answer. The opportunities are there. At Student Senate, I started with a small goal of getting a soap dispenser refilled in the Carmen Library. And that evolved into staying up late at Carmen Library, writing up reports about the upcoming spring election so that I could share with students. I found my purpose and an outlet for the practical implementation of my undergraduate skills that I was learning through a club. But not only did I have an outlet for my academic skills, I was learning and I made friends, something that can be kind of challenging for someone that's a little bit older and also coming to a campus in the middle of the school year when a lot of the students had already spent at least a semester together. But the sense of purpose that I had harnessed through my associates, Student Senate, shared governance has grown significantly. And I see that my purpose is bigger than myself. Which is why when I'm getting students out to vote this year or last year, I'm speaking at shared governance with student leaders from the other campuses, or President Rothman, or Regent Weatherly, which the offer is still there to come and see some students, have some lunch with them. We can talk about that later. But when I'm doing these things, I'm not thinking of myself. I'm thinking of the next student, the lost student, the ignored student, or the voiceless student. And with that, I've been to the Capitol. I've had the privilege to go to the Capitol twice to speak with legislators about student concerns, specifically the rising costs, but more importantly, the decline in state allocated funding to general purpose revenue and tuition. And as I get closer to graduation, I will look more into these things. I will talk with students, talk with legislators, administration, community members, and just be annoying about it. Because these things are bigger than me. Thank you for your time and listening. It's an honor to speak in front of the body that produced the Sifton Winnow quote. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I think he's coming for your job, Brant, so look out, okay? All of these experiences throughout a student's career or a student's journey are, of course, preparing them for their career. But as they continue into their upperclassmen years, this is when they really have the opportunity to focus on their career preparation in a hands-on, some kind of a practical way. Thanks to our strong partnerships with industry and alumni, students have a wide range of opportunities. 81% of our students participate in a career-oriented experiential learning activity, whether it is an internship or co-op or student teaching or field experience. And 41% of those students end up securing post-graduation work with the same employer where they did their internship. This really underscores how valuable these experiences are and how workforce ready our students are. In 2023, we had an 85%, I'm sorry, I read that wrong, 95%, I wanted to emphasize it. Did you see? Okay, 95% placement rate of our graduates, which I'm very excited to report is our highest placement rate ever. And approximately 70% of those graduates remain in Wisconsin. We are significantly contributing to the state's talent pipeline, and I am delighted to introduce our next speaker, Austin Cooper. He's a civil engineering major, graduating next month. Congratulations, Austin. He's had the opportunity to participate in 3 internships and co-ops throughout his time here. 3. The most recent one being last summer at MSA Professional Services, who then, at the end of the summer, offered him a full-time engineering job after graduation. We often boast about our students and how many are hired before graduation, but as Austin reminds us, in some cases, that can even mean being hired an impressive 8 months before graduation. Please welcome Austin Cooper.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Chancellor Vedovich said, my name is Austin Cooper. I'm a senior civil engineering student with a coursework emphasis in structural engineering. I started college during the fall of 2020, which, as you know, was in the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. This created a completely different start to the college experience than anyone had ever experienced, nor had I ever envisioned. With the pandemic, my freshman year classes were pretty much fully online, which took the social aspect completely out of the picture. I wasn't able to attend classes in a lecture hall and meet new people or grow my skill set. Everything that I had heard about UW-Platteville growing up was about its reputation as a top engineering school that utilized small class sizes and hands-on projects for their students to learn the best and get the most real-world experiences. The pandemic didn't make this reputation possible and took that part of learning away from me. That's when I realized how important activities outside of classes would be. I remember one of my first assignments of my UWP study class. It was sort of a freshman orientation class. It was to sign up for a student organization, attend a meeting, and write about the experience. So even though my classes weren't necessarily able to meet in person, it was still such a priority of the university to get students involved in some way. I ended up joining and attending an American Society of Civil Engineers, or ASCE, meeting that first September, and it really opened my eyes to the possibilities for involvement. I quickly began signing up for different committees and was thrown in as a co-captain of the concrete canoe team right away, as attendance was severely down. I had no idea what I was doing, and it became an opportunity to learn. Many upperclassmen helped me figure it out throughout the year. Through student organizations like ASCE, I was able to translate knowledge that I learned into my upper level classes that I've taken now. It also gave me the social aspect, which turned out to be more than just about making friends, but also about meeting future classmates who I would work with to do homework and study for exams just about every day. After the pandemic lightened up and classes met again in person, immediately the projects and hands-on opportunities commenced. It started with field trips to local sites and lab work in classes like surveying or mechanics of materials. This quickly ramped up with end-of-semester projects like fluid mechanics, where we spent our own time in the labs creating a project completely from scratch. We applied the knowledge we learned throughout the semester to explain the theoretical side of the experiment and backed it up by showing what actually happened. This turned into more intense projects as I honed in more specifically on structural engineering. For example, in reinforced concrete, we spent time both designing a building, but also pouring a 10-foot reinforced concrete beam that we then tested in the materials lab. Then, a semester later in intermediate structural engineering, we were tasked with designing and building a small-scale bridge out of popsicle sticks, glue, and toothpicks. There's a picture on the bottom right. In both classes, we used our theoretical and design knowledge to state when the respective project would fail and in what mode of failure. The hands-on experiences then began and our work in design became full circle as we observed to see if our calculations and hypotheses were correct. These experiences were very important as I looked to get heavily involved in my career and hopefully accept a job offer before graduation. As somebody who is predominantly a visual learner, working on projects in groups simulated the behavior of a real civil engineer who works with many stakeholders and others to create a cost-effective, safe, and sustainable solution to any problem. Projects also allowed me to apply the information I was learning in class and understand it easier, as I could see the implications of certain aspects and brainstorm solutions for any problems. But it wasn't just my classes that were creating this extra opportunity for growth. The university was constantly pushing students to attend events and create new relationships with other students and professionals. In my classes, we had guest speakers, but as a university, there were career fairs and industry days and seminars and presentations and tours, all with professionals from the industry who had great knowledge and experiences to share. Throughout my college career, I participated in 3 internships during the summer for 3 different companies. While I was lucky enough to secure each of my positions through the networking and opportunities created from ASCE, I saw the power of the career fair and these other events for my classmates. I still attended them and watched as my peers were offered opportunities left and right, and how when they returned from summer, something felt different about them. Different in a good way, as they all seemed to have learned and experienced a lot, which made it easy to be confident in the engineers of our future. No longer were many interns stuck behind computers doing paperwork all summer. Instead, my classmates and me were put out in the field doing construction and learning firsthand. Personally, I don't think this would have been such a widespread theme amongst the interns if it weren't for the faith that many engineering firms have in the education and experiences created for students at UW-Platteville. Through it all, the skill that I never thought I would grow so much in was leadership. This past June, I led a team in a successful effort to host the ASCE Civil Engineering Student Championships, which was a society-wide finals event for students around the country and a couple other countries to showcase their skills in concrete canoe, surveying, and sustainable solutions competitions. As executive chair of the planning committee, I spent a long 20 months planning and preparing the event alongside my classmates. An event of that scale with hundreds of students coming to our campus required a lot of work to properly showcase our campus community and provide the necessary atmosphere for these teams to succeed. I don't feel that this event would have been as successful as it was if it wasn't for the constant push and support of people throughout our university. My team and I spent a significant amount of time of our college careers working on this event. There were a lot of setbacks and hurdles along the way. No matter what, though, there was always somebody new around the university that was willing to spend the extra time to help us through it and solve our problems. An example of this is actually at the beginning of that 20-month period when I met with Chancellor Vedovich, who was then provost, and she guided me through kind of how we should start networking, how we should start fundraising. She took the time out of her day to help us get started and help us reach our goals. So I thank you for that. This alone was enough to convince me how invested UW-Platteville is in their students' educations and futures. As I look towards graduation in May, I feel not only prepared, but ready for the real world and excited for the opportunities that lie ahead for me as a civil engineer. In September, I accepted a full-time job as an engineer on the bridge team at MSA Professional Services in Madison. While it was a culmination of many things that probably got me to this point, I'm proud to have signed with an organization that is heavily involved on campus and invested in UW-Platteville students. While I can say thank you to MSA for their role in my education, I owe an even greater thanks to the university for allowing organizations to have that level of involvement. I also owe a great deal of gratitude to the professors and support staff who set up students properly through coursework and other activities with the skill sets they need to be successful. There are so many great engineering schools around the country, but I have no doubt that I made the right choice in making UW-Platteville my home, as I am proud and always will be to be a pioneer. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. I'm so proud of our students. They're really impressive. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna go on. I know I said today is all about students, and it is, but I would be remiss if I did not welcome one of our incredible industry partners and alumni. As our final speakers, I would like to welcome Ted Richards, Chairman, and Matthew Richards, President and CEO of Strand Associates. It's an engineering firm headquartered in Madison. Strand Associates has demonstrated a lifelong commitment to student success at UW-Platteville. They are one of the foundations in the College of EMS's largest donors, making an annual major gift donation to the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering to support its students, faculty, and staff. They provide internship and co-op opportunities for students, faculty assistantships, and they sponsor senior design projects. They hire our graduates. Around 70 alumni are currently employed by Strand Associates. In addition to an endowed scholarship established by Strand Associates, they also created an endowed fund to support Strand Associates Centerpoint, a space designed for students and their academic success. Please welcome Ted and Matt Richards.
Hello, my name is Matt Richards. I am currently President and CEO of Strand Associates and a 1991 graduate of UW-Platteville in Civil Engineering. With me today is my father, Ted, who is Chairman of the Board for Strand Associates and a 1961 graduate. I'd like to share a little bit about us, about our firm, and our relationship with UW-Platteville. First off, some family history is important. Ted's grandfather and father ran a barber shop just a few blocks from here on 2nd Street. And I've heard from Ted many times that had he not had access to the campus, in the proximity of the campus, he would have never been able to attend college. As for me, Platteville was perfect. Smaller classes were a great fit, and being able to know my professors and knowing they wanted me to succeed was motivating. Like my father, I recognize that I would not have had as many opportunities had I not attended UW-Platteville. A little bit about Strand. We are a 500-person civil engineering firm headquartered in Madison, offices throughout the Midwest, Texas, and Arizona. We work both on public projects and private projects, focusing on water infrastructure, transportation, wastewater, and industrial manufacturing. We've worked on several visible projects that you might be familiar with: Verona Road and the Beltline, Interchange, Highway 12 from Middleton to Baraboo, and UW-Madison campus projects, including Porter Boathouse, Goodman Field, Lakeshore Path, and many campus utility projects. Everything Strand does is focused on relationships. Our success is based on finding engineers that are technically strong and have the soft skills and the communication skills to effectively deal with clients. Strand's relationship with UW-Platteville began with my father. He always believed in the program and hired many students from here. When we hire at a university, we try to get to know as many people as we can: students, career services staff, department staff, professors, administration. We do this to get a better understanding of the students, their experiences, and their goals. We strive to get our people involved in UW-Platteville. Currently, we have 6 people very engaged on campus, leadership positions, including Civil Engineering Advisory Board, Alumni Association, Athletics, Real Estate Foundation, and I am on the foundation board. Prior to becoming president of our firm, I was actively involved in hiring. I hired at Marquette, MSOE, University of Illinois, Purdue, Texas A&M, and Arizona, to name a few. This year, our firm will recruit at 42 different universities. We have employees from 62 different universities and 9 technical colleges. The graduates on this campus stack up against any in the country. We currently have 68 UW-Platteville grads in our firm. We have 5 more grads starting this spring, and 2 students will intern for us this summer. I have no idea how I missed Austin. 3 of our 7 board members are Platteville graduates. The relationships we've developed here have greatly impacted our success and this has been a great partnership for us. I look forward to continuing this partnership with the Chancellor's leadership. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. My name is Ted Richards. I graduated in 1961, a long, long time ago. So I have a lot of experience. I've had 6 brothers and sisters, all of whom attended here at Platteville. All graduated except for one sister. She graduated from Edgewood after she had her family. So, but she would have graduated from here, I'm sure. I had one brother who received his PhD in physical chemistry after graduating from Platteville here. I've had the opportunity to be an ABET accredited visitor. All engineering programs, if you want a really good engineering job, you have to graduate from an accredited university. But I had the opportunity to be on an accreditation team for more than 10 years, visiting many different universities. I have had visits at the University of London, England, Puerto Rico at Mayagüez, West Point, California State, Ohio State, and many others. I bring this to your attention because it shows the experience with a very diverse system of education. With all my experience in education, the common denominator in excellent universities is faculty and support from the administration. We have found the faculty here at UWP to be excellent. Many of the bright students from UWP came to us with strong recommendations from your faculty. As Matt said, we build our firm using a number of great universities that we feel have excellent teaching facilities. You can talk about the university buildings and all the other things, but when it comes right down to it, it's the faculty and the teachers that make a university and make a university great. That's the bottom line. We have found this to be our road to success, as I explained, and we will continue this path to the future success. We will continue to partner with UWP and maintain a strong relationship, which we hope benefits the university and our firm. You have an excellent university here, and I think a great chancellor who provides great leadership, and I think can drive the university into future great success. And with that, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. I talked with you maybe 10, 15 years ago, a long, long time ago, when I was still very active practicing. Thank you.
I didn't tell him to say that, I promise. Thank you, Ted and Matt, and thank you again to our wonderful students for sharing your stories. I know that a lot of times you're asked to share personal stories, and I appreciate your willingness to do this. It can be quite intimidating. As we pioneer forward together, these stories are shared not just for their exceptionalism, which indeed they are, but also because they are representative of the thousands of pioneers, past, present, and future, whom we have guided and supported. Today, students need more and different help than they have in the past. We know. We've been doing it. We are going to continue to do it, and we are going to be responsive as new needs arise. Students need top-class knowledge and applied learning. We know. We've been doing it, and we are going to continue to do it, and our corporate partners reflect that we are going to do a phenomenal job. Education is costly, and students have competing demands on their time and resources. We know. We keep costs low, and we are committed to ensuring the high return on our students' investment now and into the future. We need to meet workforce needs in teaching, criminal justice, STEM, agriculture, and of course, engineering. We know. We also know that employers require students to be lifelong learners and to have holistic education grounded in critical thinking and problem solving. And we assure that our students have hands-on learning experiences to prepare them for a global community. We have responded in generating programs and co-curricular opportunities that expand our students' learning and propel them forward. We are now and will continue to be laser focused on student access and success. I am proud to lead this campus, and as you go out today, please take notice. There are pioneers all around, and they are bettering this state and they are changing the world. And at UW-Platteville, we will continue to be all about students as we pioneer forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring. We appreciate the students coming forward and also the strands. We appreciate their continuing involvement with UW-Platteville. I'd now like to call on any regents who have questions or comments. It looks like we've learned everything there is to know about Platteville. I'm sure there's more, but thank you again to the students who showed up today. Look us up at the reception. Now we turn to a break. We're going to take 10 minutes. So if I could ask you to be back in your seats by 2:30. Thank you.
Not a lot. The other thing.
Thank you very much. We now turn to the Universities of Wisconsin's recommendation on 2024-25 tuition and fee proposals, which was presented to the Business and Finance Committee this morning. And I'll turn to the chair of that committee, Regent Ashok Rai, to present the committee's recommendation.
Thank you, Regent President Walsh. This morning, the Business and Finance Committee reviewed, discussed, and voted to adopt the Universities of Wisconsin's proposal for tuition and auxiliary rates for the 2024-2025 academic year. In his presentation to the committee, Vice President Sean Nelson outlined the key factors that were considered in developing this proposal and shared an overview of the recommendations which were provided in advance to all regions for our review. To summarize, the proposal provides for a base tuition increase of 3.75% for resident undergraduates, accounting for a combined tuition and segregated fee increase averaging 4.4% and an increase in room and board rates averaging 3.1%. The proposed average increase in the cost of attendance for Wisconsin resident undergraduate students at the four-year campuses will be 3.8%. The proposal also provides for increases to graduate tuition and non-resident undergraduate tuition. These rate increases also vary by university, but in every instance, the dollar amount of these increases charged to non-residents is equal to or greater than the amount assessed to Wisconsin resident students. In addition to the base tuition adjustment, most of the universities propose an increase to program-specific tuition in one or more fields of study. This revenue helps to offset the expenses of certain high-cost programs, maintain their high quality, and expand their capacity to graduate more students into these high-demand fields to help Wisconsin's workforce needs. The committee believes this is a reasonable and responsible proposal that takes into account several factors. The 3.8% average increase in cost of attendance for resident students is in line with the recent levels of inflation, which continue to reduce purchasing power at the universities for goods and services necessary to meet the needs of students. In addition to those increased costs, the pay plan enacted in the state budget adds additional expenses to the universities. While these compensation adjustments are laudable and necessary to recruit and retain the high-quality faculty and staff who serve our students, The state provides funding for only 70% of that cost, exerting additional financial pressure on campus budgets at a time when the institution's tuition balances continue to decrease, as they will even with this additional revenue. But it's important to all of us that UW education continues to be affordable. And by no means does this proposal place the entire burden for any fiscal challenges on the backs of our students. As we all know, the universities have and will continue to aggressively control the expense side of their operations as they eliminate any structural deficits and position themselves for the long term to be as strong and resilient financially as they've always been academically. A UW education needs to be accessible and affordable, offering life-changing educational opportunities delivered by exceptional faculty and a staff at a financially strong university. Those goals are inherent through our strategic plan, and this proposal has been developed with that commitment in mind. On behalf of the Business and Finance Committee, I now move adoption of Resolution 9, and along with Vice President Nelson, would be happy to entertain any questions Regents may have about the proposal.
Thank you, Regent Rye. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions for either Vice President Sean Nelson or Regent Rye? Looking to you folks online. Yes, Regent Weatherly.
Yeah, I just want to call attention to a part of what students are paying that we're not voting on today and what isn't captured here. And I hear from students a lot. When I'm talking to them, I have not heard anything in the last 2 or 3 years about whether we've increased tuition 2%, 3%, 4%. They've had fairly nuanced opinions about that. But the thing that has got them emotional, I've been talking to them, is fees that they're charged on top of their per credit fees that are not determined by us. They're determined at the campus level, in particular, the technology fee for taking online classes. At many of our schools, it's $50 per credit. So let's just say right now we charge an average of $400 per credit. We are talking about, a 12% increase in the cost of taking that class. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This isn't a normative statement. This is I think we should have a discussion going into next year about what is appropriate. I think these fees came about in a time when we didn't have any levers to increase revenue. This is one of the very few that we did, and in a time when online classes were rare. At many of our schools, they're incredibly common right now. So, I just want to bring that to Regents' attention. I hope that next year we can look if there is a better way of doing this and share that this is the most common concern I hear from students. Is this what they would perceive as nickel and diming them?
And so you're referring to special fees for certain majors or certain classes.
Certain class delivery. So originally it was like, for instance, for like an art class, they charge you $40 because it involves an
For the materials, right?
We now have broad blanket fees for online classes at some of our institutions on a per credit basis. So I looked up several of them. I saw commonly it's $50 per credit.
Yeah.
So it adds up very quickly, and it's something that we don't vote on. And again, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just bringing it to the board's attention.
Right, and getting more information on it would be very helpful.
So I can address it and let Sean kind of address it, but Regent Weatherly, we actually did discuss that in committee today. Kind of started to look underneath the rock on that, probably not to the extent that we need to going forward. I would fully commit to that. I can ask Sean to address the issue as well. But it is a campus by campus decision, except for the universal one that you talked around on tech, which was one that Sean pointed out in committee today as well.
Did you want to address that, Sean? Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I think Dr. Ryan addressed it. That's right. We acknowledge that these fees, of course, are out there, and we'd just like to spend the next year understanding the universe of these fees and why they are assessed, and bring that forward for the Regents to review and have a process by which those are approved as well. So I think some work to do, but appreciate Regent Weatherly's observation on this one. Thank you.
Right, and I think it's just a sense of giving the board the full picture of the charges that students experience on campus. We're not looking for a problem. Yes, Regent Tyler.
Just curious if the group looks at costs outside of, so there's a cost of attendance that we don't collect. It's not in seg fees, it's not in tuition, it may be housing, it may be transportation, it may be food, you know. I realize we're somewhat different because we include housing in a lot of areas, but I'm just curious if we look at that, because in the technical colleges, we've seen some pretty rapid increases in costs that are outside of what the technical colleges collect in tuition and fees.
Sean, can you address that at all?
Yeah, I think I can. Again, sorry.
Maybe you might like to join us at the table.
I know.
There are lots of mine.
Yeah, in short, we don't, right? I mean, we know there are, for example, special course fees associated with particular programs, like an arts course will have a $20 fee for art materials, or a chemistry course, thank you, will have additional fee for, you know, to buy beakers for the class and so forth. But we don't actually look at the cost of transportation, for example. However, financial aid officers do, right? So what we are proving today is the primary cost of attendance. You know, a lot of those outside factors that when financial aid packages are constructed take into account those factors, but they're not certainly part of the analysis that we do as part of the overall budget here today.
Does that answer your question, Regent Tyler?
It does. I think it is something that should be looked at as part, because it certainly is a cost of the student.
Right, exactly. Thank you. Regent Many-Deeds, you had your hand.
Thank you, President Walsh. Just a couple of things. First, in relationship to Regent Weatherly's comments, it's always important to listen to the concerns of the student, and we will. But we should, I hope, when we're looking at all angles, hear from the chancellors and provosts of the campuses who are charging these extra fees and why it's done, so that we can have a balance when we discuss it. I would appreciate that, and I know we will do it. Second thing, as far as what we're really here to do now is the tuition increase. When we were first given the opportunity to look at and increase tuition a couple of years ago, that was the first time that we were allowed to fulfill our statutory duty in almost 10 years. And I think President Rothman alluded to that this morning. But when we were given that opportunity, because it was unexpected, we didn't just willy-nilly increase the tuition based upon no reason or rationale. We purposely took a year to consider and then decided that, as you know, because you were in charge of all of these things, that we should consider the factors that would, and the reasons why, and the basis for an increase, and do it in increments so that it made sense to the people that had to pay that, so that they could plan for it. And we've done that. And every increase that we've had, the last two increases have been based upon facts that allow us to do that in an appropriate way. So that being said, I'm prepared to vote on that motion.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Regent Rye.
And thank you everyone for your comments. And I, want to emphasize the point that I brought up in my comments that we did dive into further in committee is this is a lever. There is a lot of work being done on campuses on expense reduction, which we continue to hear about. We had a great presentation on that this morning. And it's important to understand that we're not just asking the students to keep the university whole and going forward. A good portion of the student increase or the tuition increase here is going to a pay commitment, which is necessary to keep our campuses staffed and going forward as well. When you really do look at the budget packet and the breakdown, I do believe that although this may be quote in line with inflationary pressures, very little of this actually accounts to help us with that inflationary pressure. And a lot more of that work is being done on the expense reduction aspect too. So it's important to look at this revenue increase at the same time with all the really good work that the campuses are doing on the expense reduction side. You have to look at this in a totality when you look at the vote. So
Yeah, and it's much more complicated than just a vote to raise tuition. There are a lot of factors involved. And Regent Many-Deeds mentioned the fact that when we had tuition authority return to this board, we live in the real world as well. It was in the middle of the pandemic. We didn't feel it was fair at that late time in the summer to ask people to pay more for tuition. It just didn't sit well. Having said that, we've also sat in a world where our peers are charging much more for tuition than we are. And if you look at that, and our friend Ben Passmore can give you any of the numbers you would like to compare, we are quite low and quite competitive. And I say that with the conscious realization that no matter how much we raise it, it still means students have to come up with out-of-pocket money. So I understand their dilemma. At the same time, I see our dilemma very close too. And so trying to ride both of those things is how we're going to discuss these tuition increases in a responsible and practical way. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Regent Underly.
Thank you. Thank you. So as we were talking about earlier in the Education Committee about support for programming in our schools, particularly dual enrollment and how that transfers, the universities and the schools have to pick up that cost. I just want to acknowledge that our legislature is sitting on a $4 billion budget surplus. And the reason that we have to continue to cut and also raise tuition and other revenue sources is because they have routinely neglected to put those investments back into our school systems, whether it's universities or K-12. And I like to think back in the 70s, we were getting 45% of our support from the state. Now we're down to around 15%. So I think that we need to just reiterate that, yeah, it is a burden on our system, and it's a burden on our students, but certainly our state legislature could be doing something different about that.
Thank you, Regent Underly. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second, and we are ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Who was the last aye? Regent Cruiser?
Cruiser, yes.
You were the last aye. Was that an aye as in yes or an aye as in no?
Aye as in yes.
Thanks. Because it was on the tail end, never mind, the motion carries. All right, and now we're going to call conclusion on our open session and move into closed session. A few quick reminders for you. Chancellor Ivetovich's investiture begins at 5:30 p.m. at Bo Ryan Court in the Williams Fieldhouse. Following the investiture, there's a reception at the Marquee Pioneer Student Center at 6:30. And lastly, please note that we have an early start for our meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. Now, Vice President Bogus, will you read the motion to move into closed session?
I sure will. Thank you, President Walsh. I move that the Board of Regents move into closed session to consider personal histories related to the naming of facilities at UW-Madison, UW-La Crosse as permitted by statute 19.85, parent 1, parent F of the Wisconsin statutes. Consider personal histories related to UW staff honorary degree nominations permitted by 19.85, parent 1, parent F of the Wisconsin statutes. Consider performance evaluations for chancellors as permitted by 19.85, parent 1, parent C of the Wisconsin statutes, and consider pay plan compensation adjustments for the UW assistant president and chancellors as permitted by 19.85, parent 1, parent C of the Wisconsin statutes.
Is there a second? Thank you. Megan, please call the roll.
Regent Adams.
Okay.
Regent Atwell.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Regent Brankus. Regent Cologne.
Yeah.
Regent Floyda.
Present. Regent Cruiser, are you still there?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Regent Menedee.
Yes.
Regent Peterson.
Yes.
Regent Prince.
Yes.
Thank you. Regent Rye. Regent Trainer. Regent Tyler. Regent Underly. Regent Walsh.
Yes.
And Regent Weatherly.
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll wait for the room to clear. If I can't work one.